the vision I have for a business model for our world is that we've seen a profit-only motive, which is an accountant's job, bean counters. That's why they're called bean counters, and a lot of people didn't like us. But I mean, pretty much like, let's see, going into patience was a big one. The reason I talked about patience and why it's so important is that when Eastern business models, Japanese companies function in 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, and 20-year financial projections. In the United States, we function on each quarter. That means every 90 days. I don't know what the life expectancy and quality of life is in Japan, but I'd like to know. If somebody knows, please let me know. I'm not saying that all Japanese will live longer than us, but what I'm saying is that, or we live longer than the Japanese. What I'm saying is they have what's called a total quality management. W. Edwards Demming brought with a total quality management system back after World War II to rebuild Japan, and we, as a nation, helped the Japanese to do that. That's why we have so much synergy with technology. If we can have a Western focus like the Eastern nations do, where we have a long-term vision. For example, I see my life up until I'm in my 80s or 90s. I don't look at my life and my mistakes that I've made for the next 3 months. I might take actions for the next 3 months, but I don't do my financial projections, and that's why we have baby boomers that are retiring right now every 8 minutes, and they're looking for jobs. That's why they're looking for second careers, because we have not, as a nation, taken care of our people and taught them a long-term focus. That's why Social Security is going bankrupt. We don't think about the long term. So we need to move our vision and our focus as a nation, as a financial advisory, as business advisory at a world-class level, with the largest accounting firms to the smallest CPA firms to all the investors, that when a bank provides a loan for a small business, maybe it shouldn't be due within a year. Maybe give them a little bit more time, but have a more stringent repayment schedule for that credit, because it may take an extra year or an extra 6 months to get that business off the ground. Maybe our financial institutions need to look at the capital lending structure and look at the Japanese lending structure, where they build networks within networks and allow for that dollar to flow. But anyways, I don't know who's running our financial policies, and it doesn't seem to make very much sense to me. So I hope that this is making a little bit of sense to you, because from financial reporting to financial lending, from an institutional point of view, should really be looking at 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and comparative, income statements, balance sheets, comparative across industry, comparative for, lending loans and providing education. The one bank that I really love what they're doing is Wells Fargo. Bank of America, I'm sorry, but I won't give my opinion there. And, with all the disclosures and how much they've had to repay their clients, I'm not going to get into that. But I do think that for small businesses, I've had as an accountant, phenomenal experiences with Chase and private lending. But Wells Fargo actually provides financial education. And a lot of us that are in business have seen their commercials, and I really love it. What they do is they actually provide the financial consulting. So when we're looking at strategy to change a nation in finance that has trillions of dollars in a deficit, we would want to start looking at the banks and the model they're using, and maybe start looking at Wells Fargo, where if you're lending a customer this amount of money, don't just send them to the Small Business Administration to get knowledge there on how to apply that money, because a lot of times business owners don't know. They take the money and they go shopping, or they go vacationing, or they live on it, and they don't use the capital for the purpose for which It was borrowed, which is investing in their customers and sales and marketing strategy. Wells Fargo is doing a phenomenal job where they bring a team of consultants from sales and marketing, business advisory, and all the things that a business owners need. So what I decided to do is that since a lot of people, so much heartbreak, I just step out and just pour my knowledge out there, and would love to focus my videos on the pain point, the challenges, and the questions that you have, so that you're asking me maybe on a webinar or a live Q&A or a Facebook live event that I'd like to have scheduled, where you get on there and tell me all of your business problems and your pain points or sales and marketing problems. I'm not very technical, so IT questions would be for maybe John Eastman is very good. Our CEO, he's amazing at IT. He's done his education in international business management and IT as a minor, so he is completely really, really smart. All the IT questions can go to him, but we want to stick with business consulting, business advisory, and understanding why there's so much default in credit cards and default in loans. We have to start with financial education. And that's something that I feel that our colleges and our institutions are really, really behind in. I got an accounting degree, a 4-year, I don't even have an MBA, but who can in this day and age starting out to manage finance, credit cards and accounting and bills without an MBA understand half of the things I'm saying without the experience that we have. So we have a lot of suffering and financial suffering out there that I think the banks should be before the money, instead of not lending money, you're in the business of making interest, and and I have a lot of clients that were former executives at banks, and I was a former corporate financial control for Citibank. Did accounting for the entire Asia Pacific region, and so I'm speaking from experience. When businesses, the titles default, in that sense, you have real estate markets that have slowed down. I mean, it creates a huge problem for the local economies. I would highly recommend financial literacy and financial education in the model that Wells Fargo is doing it. But for now, I'm a one-man show trying to put financial literacy at this level out to the market to provide a solution for people that may not have the ability to hire ultra high-end coaches and consultants to save their businesses and their families and their dreams and their visions, and maybe not default on their credit cards or their loans and move our world, our planet, and our country into a financial crisis again. All right, so number 7 was how do we keep going? Momentum. I'm one of those people that, no matter what happens, I get back up and I keep going. I may not be able to get back up like when I was in the hospital for 20 days recently and I was very sick. It took me maybe 3 months or more to actually heal and recover and to be back to myself. But as soon as I have my energy, I'm back here doing my job that I absolutely love. And so what happens when we don't have that momentum? How is it that we have a support system or we have the ability to go? It actually comes back to where it says the daily habits. I call it my, Eben Pagan talks about our daily ritual. You call it what you want. I have the Mind Power for Success program, for example, is a 90-day program. It takes us 28 days, 21 to 28 days to break a habit. Like, for example, if we're addicted to nicotine or we're addicted, for me, I was addicted to coffee and caffeine. Without a cup of coffee every day or a couple of cups of coffee, I didn't have any energy. I was always tired. And so I'd wake up and if I didn't have my coffee, I was like, poof, I'd fall asleep on my desk, right? So I decided that I was going to kick the amount of caffeine and coffee that I was taking in, because it's not really good for osteoporosis as I get older. It's better to have some cream with it. So what do I do to kick a habit? It's the same thing for any habit or having momentum. Once the subconscious mind has a plan, a definite plan where we want to go. We have a strategy. The strategy is just simply, okay, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. We stick with that strategy. And then here is the recurring thing that we do every day. It's a routine. Basically, it's our routine. So what we do from the time that we wake up, to the time we go to sleep every day, and this is how I've been very, very successful my whole life. Again, it's another accounting principle called consistency. We look for that in businesses. To kick the habit, you find a substitute. So, okay, here's a bad habit. We don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be drinking so much coffee. And it could be any addiction. It doesn't matter what it is. And I substituted it for something that I really, really loved, which was, at the time it was like maybe a little bit of chocolate that has some of that, and drinking a lot of water. So it was something healthy for me. It brought about a good habit, and it took me 5 days of every time I had a craving, I needed to have that substitute that was a healthy substitute. So here comes the coffee craving. So I would have maybe some tea, or I'd have, whatever that was. So momentum and the ability to keep going is when we get knocked down, that's the same thing. It's a bad habit. It's something that has put a damper in our life. It's very simple to be able to get back up. We just find a routine that works for us, especially as entrepreneurs and executives, because we have to manage so much for productivity. Do the same routine every day. Have a scheduled time to look at your emails, a scheduled time to answer your calls, scheduled time for meditation, scheduled time for dance or exercise, or going to the gym, or community time or social time or family time, schedule date night in, whatever that is that's going to be your ideal routine. At some point, I created a program. It was in Excel as an accountant. It took me 2 years to master productivity and my routine, and I created binary ones all the way down in a point system to see if my life was in balance in the 9 key areas. And Cosmic Accounting, page 186, just talks about the 9 key areas, but the spreadsheet didn't fit in the first book. I'll do my best to put the program which combines time management, productivity at the highest level, with Franklin Covey and, Eben Pagan, you name all the greatest in the industry, because when you work for the largest firms in the world, they have the capital and the ability to allow us the budget to invest in time management and productivity at the highest level. So if you could ping me on your feedback and say, hey, Indeara, at some point we'd like to have an app or a PDF done for that Excel spreadsheet for productivity and time management. That took me 2 years to create a database to keep our life in balance and actually measure a point system. I think I created that back in 2004, 2005. I'd be happy to get that out to you. I don't have it on hand right now. I have to search like an old computer from like 10 years ago. But I did master work-life balance, my personal life, my financial life, my business life. I created spreadsheets for everything, and I would love to put that out in a PDF for you to have a download. If you join my community and you send an email to support@indeara.com, make that request. I'll have someone on our team working on finding that for you. So the ability to keep going and maintaining momentum, actually, it's very simple if I explained it. I started my day, let's say at 4 or 5 a.m., 6 a.m. is when, this is what would happen. By 10 a.m., this is what I would do when I was in that high productivity state. Now, maybe my day starts at 7 or 8 a.m. So basically, productivity management. I will look if that is something that you need. Let me know, because then I can create a program on productivity management. You can get on one of my live calls, get into one of my programs, and I'll be happy to walk you through productivity management and how you can have your business and your personal life be in balance.